Daniel is 43 years old, and he has been paying Social Security taxes every single paycheck since he was 22. 21 years of FICA deductions. 21 years of that line on his pay stub that disappears before he ever sees the money. He has never once looked at what he is actually projected to receive. If you ask Daniel right now what his Social Security benefit will be in retirement, he would give you a number. It would be confident. It would be wrong. Not slightly wrong. Wrong in 4 specific ways simultaneously. And at least one of those ways is going to cost him somewhere between $50,000 and $200,000, depending on a single decision he hasn't made yet and doesn't know he needs to think about. Today, we are running the math Daniel hasn't run. And if you are under 50 and you have never sat down with your actual Social Security statement and worked through what you are genuinely projected to receive, this video is for you too. My name is Nick. Let's get into it. Before we get to the math, let's establish what most Americans actually believe about Social Security, because the gap between the belief and the reality is where all the expensive mistakes live. Most people believe Social Security works something like this. You pay in a percentage of your salary for your working life. When you retire, you get back a check that reflects roughly what you put in, adjusted for how long you worked and how much you earned. Simple input, proportional output. That is not how Social Security works. Not even close. The actual calculation involves a formula most Americans have never heard of, applied to a number most Americans have never calculated, producing a result that is deliberately structured to be counterintuitive in ways that hurt high earners and help low earners, and that changes dramatically based on a decision most people make without fully understanding what they're deciding. Let's build the actual picture from the ground up.
Social Security calculates your benefit using something called your primary insurance amount, or PIA. Your PIA is what you receive if you claim at your full retirement age. But to get to your PIA, the Social Security Administration first has to calculate something called your average indexed monthly earnings, or AIME. Your AIME is calculated by taking your 35 highest earning years, adjusting each year's earnings for inflation, adding them all up, and dividing by 420, which is 35 years times 12 months. 2 important things to notice about that formula. First, it uses your 35 highest years. If you worked fewer than 35 years, Social Security fills in zeros for the missing years, which drags your average down significantly. A person who worked 30 years has 5 zeros built into their AIME calculation, whether they realize it or not. Second, it uses 35 years specifically, not your total career. If you worked 40 years, only the best 35 count. If you're planning to retire early, you should know that stopping work at 58 instead of 63 could mean replacing 5 decent earning years with zeros. Once the Social Security Administration has your AIME, they apply what's called a bend point formula to calculate your PIA, and this is where the counterintuitive part starts. The formula is progressive. It is deliberately structured to replace a higher percentage of income for lower earners than for higher earners. In 2026, the formula works roughly like this. You receive 90 cents of benefit for every dollar of AIME up to approximately $1,174 a month.
Then you receive 32 cents for every dollar of AIME between $1,174 and $7,078. Then you receive 15 cents for every dollar above $7,078. What this means in practice is that a person who earned $40,000 a year their whole career gets a benefit that replaces roughly 55 to 60% of their pre-retirement income. A person who earned $120,000 a year their whole career gets a benefit that replaces roughly 25 to 30%. Social Security is intentionally designed to do more for people who need it more, which isn't a criticism. It's just something high earners consistently fail to account for when they mentally estimate their retirement income. Now, let's talk about the decision that matters more than almost anything else in this entire video. The decision most people make on autopilot without running the actual numbers first. When do you claim?
You can claim Social Security as early as age 62. You can claim at your full retirement age, which for anyone born after 1960 is 67. Or you can delay claiming all the way to age 70.
And the dollar difference between those three choices is staggering. Here's the math. Let's say your full retirement age benefit, your PIA, is $2,000 a month at 67. That's a reasonable number for someone who earned close to the median income throughout their career. If you claim at 62, your benefit is permanently reduced by 30%. You receive $1,400 a month instead of $2,000. That reduction is permanent. It applies to every check you receive for the rest of your life. If you claim at 70, your benefit is permanently increased by 24% above your full retirement age amount. You receive $2,480 a month instead of $2,000, also permanent. So the same person, the same work history, the same contributions receives either $1,400 a month, $2,000 a month, or $2,480 a month, depending entirely on when they choose to start their checks. Over a 20-year retirement, those three scenarios produce dramatically different lifetime totals. The $1,400 option produces $336,000. The $2,000 option produces $480,000. The $2,480 option produces $595,200. That is a $259,200 difference between claiming at 62 versus claiming at 70. From one decision, made on autopilot by most people because they either needed the money, didn't think about it carefully, or assumed earlier was always better. There is a concept called the break-even age that's worth understanding. If you claim at 70 instead of 62, you give up 8 years of checks to receive a larger amount starting later. The break-even point, the age at which the higher checks from waiting have cumulatively surpassed the smaller checks you would have collected starting earlier, is approximately 80 to 82 years old, depending on your specific numbers. If you live past your early 80s, which statistically most Americans who reach retirement age do, delaying is mathematically better. If you have serious health concerns, the calculation shifts, but most people never run this math at all. They just pick an age. Now here's the part that changes all of this for anyone under 50 right now. The 2026 Social Security Trustees Report projects that the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund will be depleted in 2033. Not bankrupt, not abolished, depleted. The distinction matters. When the trust fund is depleted, incoming payroll taxes continue to flow in. Those ongoing payroll taxes are projected to cover approximately 79% of scheduled benefits, which means that without congressional action, everyone collecting Social Security after 2033 faces an automatic benefit reduction of roughly 21%. Now do the math for Daniel. He's 43 today. He reaches full retirement age of 67 in 2047. The trust fund is projected to be depleted in 2033, which means Daniel is going to hit the starting line of his Social Security eligibility 14 years after the depletion date, well inside the window where the 21% reduction would be in effect if nothing changes legislatively. The same $2,000 full retirement age benefit in an uncut scenario becomes $1,580 in a post-depletion scenario. The $2,480 delayed benefit becomes $1,959. Every number in every retirement plan built on current projections needs a second version that accounts for the possibility that Congress does not act before 2033. None of this is certain. Congress has adjusted Social Security before and will almost certainly do so again. But building a retirement plan on the assumption that the current benefit structure will remain exactly intact for the next 20 years is not a plan. It's a hope. And those are different things. There's one more piece of this picture that a significant percentage of married Americans are leaving completely on the table, and it's worth spending time on because the dollar amounts involved are substantial. Social Security has a spousal benefit provision that allows a lower-earning spouse to claim up to 50% of their higher-earning spouse's full retirement age benefit if that amount is larger than their own earned benefit. And it has a survivor benefit provision that allows a surviving spouse to receive 100% of the deceased spouse's benefit if that's larger than their own.
What this means in practical terms is that the claiming decision for the higher earning spouse in a marriage is not just a decision about their own retirement income. It's a decision that sets the floor for the survivor benefit the lower earning spouse will receive if they outlive their partner. If the higher earning spouse in a couple claims at 62 and receives $1,400 a month and then passes away, the surviving spouse's maximum Social Security income going forward is $1,400 a month. If that same spouse had delayed to 70 and received $2,480 a month, the surviving spouse's maximum going forward is $2,480 a month. Women statistically outlive men by several years on average. The claiming decision made by the higher earning spouse, usually made without thinking about survivor benefits at all, can determine whether the surviving spouse spends their final years financially secure or financially stressed. This is not an edge case. This is a mainstream financial outcome for married couples, and most couples making the claiming decision never once model this scenario. Here is what Daniel does after watching this video. He goes to ssa.gov and creates a My Social Security account. It takes about 10 minutes. The statement shows him his actual projected benefit at 62, at 67, and at 70 based on his real earnings history. It also shows him whether he has any 0 years in his record and whether additional working years would meaningfully increase his benefit. He runs the break-even calculation on a piece of paper. His wife owns less than he does. He models what her survivor benefit would look like under 3 different claiming scenarios for him. He realizes for the first time that his claiming age decision is actually a joint financial decision that affects both of them, not just a personal one. He applies the 21% depletion discount to his projected numbers and builds 2 versions of his retirement income model. One if Congress acts, one if it doesn't. He adjusts his savings contributions slightly upward to account for the possibility of the second scenario. None of this is complicated once you have the actual numbers in front of you. All of it is invisible until you go get them.
Social Security is not a mystery. It is a formula, a specific, calculable, optimizable formula that the federal government will show you on demand for free in about 10 minutes at ssa.gov. The number you have in your head right now, whatever it is almost certainly based on nothing more than a rough guess that's been sitting there unchallenged for years. The math is not scary. The math is actually on your side if you understand it. Every year you work past 35 that replaces a lower earning year improves your benefit. Every year you delay claiming past 67 increases your monthly check by 8%. The survivor benefit your spouse receives is directly tied to the decision you make about when to start. Every one of these levers are pullable. None of them require a financial advisor. All of them require that you actually look at your statement first. Go look at your statement. The math is waiting for you. I will see you in the next one.